5 miles north of the town of Bodmin, the Delenk River has cut a steep-sided valley in the granite flank of Bodmin Moor. Here, for 2.5 centuries, Cornish quarrymen and masons have been hewing and shaping the hard, grey Delenk stone. Granite from this valley has been shipped all over the world, and architects know well its nature. The men who work here have a special quality too. In them run strong the old ways of Cornwall, where a man was someone who held in his hands the plough, the tiller, or the very rock of which Cornwall was made, or the black tin locked within it. Such a man is Reuben Long. His father worked on the land. As a lad, Reuben came to the quarries to learn his trade. He found out how to see the grain in the stone and choose the best line for splitting. He learnt how to use the drills, the wedges, and the hammers, how to grip a stone with dogs and chain, how to be gentle with gunpowder. Now, Reuben Long is senior quarryman at the Delenk quarry. On his skill depends the company's supply of flawless granite blocks, big enough for the customer's requirements.
I'm a quarryman, and it's my job more or less to get the rock out from the face, get it down into the pit, ready to be cleaved for the masons. Well, we're lucky here. Our quarry is situated in a valley, and we've got a stream that comes down and settles in a dam, and from there on it travels through a 2-foot pipe and drives a turbine which works with ropes and so on and drives some parts of the mill. From there it's piped farther down the valley to the compressor out. You've first to clean the rock, find your beds, joints, and so on, and plan where you can drill a deep borehole. Probably it would be from 6 to 20 feet. It just depends on the depth of the rock. I like quarry work. Sometimes it can get monotonous when you are getting one particular stone day after day, week after week. But sometimes if you can get a different class of job, it takes your mind off that one particular thing, and I think you're more happy about it than you are just one job all the time. In fact, sometimes we might get a change to go and do a job out of the quarry. Well, that's holiday then. We get a bit of fun out of that. But quarrying can be interesting, very interesting. Well, we've got a deep pit in the other side, which is used more or less for better quality stuff, monumental and shop fronts, slab work, flattened buildings. You've got to find where the rock lies, drill a hole according so that it just springs out, and from then on you've got to cleave it and get it small enough that it can be pulled with a crane down into the pit. When you've drilled the hole, you would use a certain quantity of black gunpowder, insert the fuse, and tamp it really hard. From then on, you just set a light to the fuse and clear out. But the powder actually springs the rock from the face of the quarry. a son that works down in the big pit. He's been down there roughly about 2 years, I suppose. I think that he likes it all right. I hope he do. He's rather a keen member of the local band, and I think that that's helping to keep him in this district. I've walked home for several years, and the different seasons, I think, have got their fascination. I mean, we get very hard winters here. Sometimes we got to walk home in 2 or 3 feet of snow, but we cuss about it and so on, but I still like it. I believe I like every season of the year as it comes around. Sometimes you get a nature study, the different flowers growing and the different seasons, blackberries coming on. Sometimes you stop and pick a few blackberries, mushrooms sometimes. And one thing that always strikes me in the country in the spring of the year, early mornings, to hear the birds singing as you were coming to work. Sometimes coming across by the woods, well, it's like music, absolutely. Then, of course, you see the farmer's cattle, and sometimes you see one in a bit of trouble and so on and so forth. You do your best for it, help it out, or else go and notify the farmer that there's something wrong. But I like the country. We got our garden, we can grow our own vegetables, and I can keep bees, and we're quiet. When we want quiet, we've got it. We're very peaceful when we go to bed. You don't hear a sound till next morning. I expect I've been keeping bees for 25 years, and my grandfather kept bees before me. Not that I learned a lot from him because I was only a tacker at that time, but I can still see the bees and him up working at them and so on. But beekeeping is a thing that you've got to start small, learn as you go. I think that lots of people have failed in beekeeping because they've started to run before they could walk. And you've got to study bees and know what they require at the right moment. It's a very fascinating hobby. The wife says sometimes that she thinks that I love the bees best. Probably she's right, I don't know. But she's as keen as I am, I think, with the bees. And it takes up quite a bit of my time during the summer. And wintertime, it's a job that you can really relax on. If your conscience allows you to think that they've got food to last, which is the main thing with bees wintering. Man, I think that we're wrong to class bees as human. A bee is a thing with a one-track mind, and that is gathering honey or trying to establish a fresh home, which seems to be one of their biggest bad traits. But they can be prevented from swarming with a bit of study. Only the average beekeeper or beekeepers will argue over this. And if I was to tell someone that they wanted to do a certain method to prevent swarming, they would be a complete failure. Whether bees become accustomed to the district and the one that's in their midst may do, I don't know. But the funny part of it is that I can go out among my bees, they don't take a lot of notice. The only thing they don't like me doing is cutting the nettles. But other than that, they never interfere. My wife goes out spreading out clothes and picking it in, but the bees don't interfere. And sometimes it's possible that you can work on the bees, open up the hives, and do anything without any protection whatever. But when you get August month, they are beginning to get vicious. It's better to wear something. I got a bit of a hobby in the winter. I repair a clock for my neighbors or fit up a watch perhaps. I don't make a business of it, you know. I do it as an hobby. I'll tell a story. When I was a tacker, I got hold of my dad's watch. And by the time I'd finished with it, there wasn't much that was any good left, I don't think. And I see Mother now, she was extremely worried about this watch. And I know after I'd gone to bed that night, she broke the news very quietly. But a surprise to her and myself when I knew it, well, he said, if he's torn it up, he must learn to mend it. The first thing you do is measure off, and you'd use a straight edge, square probably, and center your rock and cut square with the different cuts you've got to follow on with. Then the chaps would get at it with the small plug drills, and they would drill a series of holes, well, 3, 4, 5 inches apart. That just depends how big the rock is, how far it's got to go down. And the farther it goes, the more holes you give it. Well, then you put 2 feathers, which is half round steel, down into the hole, and your plug is a little tiny wedge which fits between the 2 half round steel. And you put a set of that in each hole throughout the cut. Well, then you get at it with a big sledge, and you've got to give them a real good hard hitting. You get a class of people that are contented. You get a class that are not. And you meet them all in your work and play and so on and so forth. We are not all built up the same. But generally speaking, I think that the quarrymen are very contented. We don't get a lot of trouble here. We get a few arguments sometimes, but we usually finish up as we started. We get some arguments here sometimes about religion, one point of view and the other point of view, and the different denominations and what they are and what they are not, and so on and so forth. But I think that the quarrymen as a whole think that there is something supreme, but they've got no hard and fast rules that they are church, chapel, Salvation Army, or anything. They just live a life that they consider is right and straight. You take the average quarryman, you could leave your purse, leave your food. It's never interfered with. Not, we have a game sometimes, you know. That's natural, but there's no one in the quarry, I'm positive, would steal a thing. We run a little small lottery pontoon and so on, with football. There's money in there left on the sill days sometimes. No one ever touch it. Someone might say, whose money is that? You better pick it up. They don't touch it. I don't think that we've ever lost anything in the quarry in that respect.
granite leaves the quarry for destinations all over the country, and indeed abroad as well. A ship leaving the Pool of London may dock in Bombay beside a Delank granite quay. And in London itself, there's hardly a street without the grey granite echo of the work of Cornwall's quarrymen. Bridges, lighthouses, monuments, public buildings, all facing time and the weather, clad in Cornish stone. Lately, there have been occasions when the quarrymen of Cornwall have looked apprehensively at new building materials, which are cheaper to produce and easier to mould to the right shape. But none of them have so far matched this stone for strength and texture. And as long as architects continue to demand the granite from Delank and the other quarries in Cornwall, there'll be men like Reuben Long, a man who knows how to combine force and gentleness in winning the grey stone from the flanks of Bodmin Moor.
It's rather a robust job. I don't think that it's quite so robust as it used to be years ago, because we found out that we got newer tools, compressed air. It used to be done by hand, and the blocks that were cleaved years ago would have to be driven apart with pieces of steel and great big wedges, 18-pound sledgehammers, a couple belting them for a day to get it open. Then you would have cut it again, and the same process. But we found out that a little bit of gunpowder used in the correct way will save a lot of drilling and a lot of hard work. Only you've got to use your loaf a bit.